Welcome back to the All Things Sports podcast. I am your co-host, Small Town EP. In a week where we get the AL and NL Cy Young Awards, as well as AL and NL MVPs, we have school ground fights in the NBA in-season tournament, and we come to learn that Draymond Green has paid about $2.3 million in technical foul fines over his career. I'm joined by your host, June. Brody, what's the biggest fine you've paid thus far in your life?
I mean, I blew my car's engine and ended up having to pay almost $4,000 for it. So, but I haven't done anything fine worthy.
At least not to the tune of 2.3. You saw I did that tune 2.3. I'm nice with it, bro. I'm nice with it. And since that was probably one of the biggest stories of the week, let's just jump right into it. We had a rumble in the Bay. We saw Draymond Green literally put Rudy Gobert in a full Nelson headlock. One of the craziest things I've seen, maybe since the brawl in the palace. Honestly, that was kind of wild. We've seen some crazy things.
There's been a few things since then, like Melo. Remember when Melo fought J.R. Smith?
He started running back. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that one of Melo's softest moments. But we'll digress. We'll digress. We did see Draymond Green get suspended 5 games. The NBA says, hey, we took into consideration a lot of things, not just this incident. Do you think those 5 games were enough, June?
Enough, yeah. I think it was enough because it's like it wasn't, he didn't throw a punch, but he sent a message, and I think 5 games is pretty appropriate. It was a little excessive on his part. This is who he is, though, and there's tension between Rudy Gobert already in the league. Draymond Green and the Warriors, Timberwolves. This is like a rivalry brewing. I think 5 games is fair.
I think 5 games is fair if it's not fair if you're saying that you took into consideration like past events and him stomping on Sabonis and all the extracurriculars. I think at this point, man, and it's a little rocky to say, but Draymond Green could be remembered kind of like the Scottie Pippen of our era, bro. Like I think outside of the championships that he's won, he might be remembered more for the antics on the court, actually, funny enough, than his success. How do you feel about that?
So when you say Scottie Pippen, I mean, I don't necessarily know Scottie Pippen to do. Maybe Dennis Rodman.
I'm sorry, Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
I apologize.
I figured. I'm sorry.
I'm tripping. Dennis Rodman. Sorry to the listeners.
Again, going back to what we were talking about, last week or so, when we brought up James Harden, or every time we bring up James Harden, it's fun to make fun of, these guys. And it's like easy to just say the joke on Twitter or make a meme out of something. Like that picture right there is going to go down in history with Gobert in a headlock. So if anything, he's going to be remembered, Draymond Green, for the guy that put that nigga in a headlock. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he'll be remembered for. But at the same time, Draymond Green has had countless contributions in championship, wins and big playoff moments. So to put respect where it's due as a non-casual or whatever the case is, somebody that actually appreciates the sport. No, Draymond Green, we knew what he did. And to the point of like a Dennis Rodman as well. Like you think of Dennis Rodman, you might think of like or Ron Artest. Ron Artest is more the guy I think that's comparable to Draymond Green because he loses his cool a lot and he's known for that, Dennis Rodman was known to me more like off the court with the shit.
With the Vegas.
Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. Yeah. He was actually on the court, being a menace. And remember, he elbowed James Harden at one time. So when you think of Ron Artest, I think of, a really great player. Draymond Green has rings to prove that he's a great player. You know what I'm saying? So I think we'll remember him for more.
That's fair. And like you said, we do remember Dennis Rodman for both on and off the court, Some of us remember him, like you were saying, for going to Las Vegas in the middle of the season and
Right.
being AWOL, and we also remember him, 20, 25 rebounds a game, being a dominant presence, like doing what it needed to be done to win championships. This NBA in-season tournament, it seems to be getting trippy. I mean, the same night we saw a little tussle in the Lakers game as well with Anthony Davis and company. Do you think the NBA in-season tournament is good for the NBA?
Yeah, because if anything, these guys want more money, and so this kind of just popped in my head, but you know how we say they don't play for rings, they play for money now. It's like, okay, if you're playing for money, well, this in-season tournament is for you because if you win this, guess what? More money in your pocket. So like at the end of
Facts.
the day, I think these guys respect their job enough, to where they're gonna bring it regardless of the fact if it was for money or not. Uh, Having another trophy to play for, another thing to say you can be a champion of or win in a competitive spirit is always something good. So I do think it's good for the NBA. We're seeing teams like Indiana, compete
Yee.
and they're putting up quality wins. We're seeing teams like obviously Miami, and as bad as the Lakers have kind of looked in certain points, they've beat the Suns and the Grizzlies, uh, to be 2-0 in their in-season tournament record. You know what I'm saying? So, credit to them. And you got teams like the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and the Pistons. Winless. Wizards, obviously, in the in-season tournament. But I think a big surprise this year is the Grizzlies. Man, like we knew that Ja Morant being suspended was going to do
Mhm.
a lot of us knew that
Absolutely.
Dylan Brooks leaving was going to be a lot, but we didn't think that, coming into the season, they weren't going to be nearly as competitive as last year. And they look like, a bottom tier team at 2-9, sitting 15 in the West right now. So a little alarming, but it's going to be interesting to see now that we're 11 games in. Ja Morant still has about 14 games on suspension. What is he going to be able to do to bring things back to what this team could be? Obviously, Steven Adams being out for the year really hurts. Brandon
Mhm.
Clark still injured, doesn't help. But Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, you guys should at least be better than 2-9 at this point in the season. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, facts, facts, facts. I want to double back to the Rumble in the Bay because that's what I'm going to call it from now on. Rudy Goldberg's comments about Draymond Green not wanting to play if Steph's not on the court. There's actual statistical facts to back this up. I don't have the exact stats in front of me right now, but I believe he has like 3 or 4 more ejections in games where Steph isn't playing that he's in versus games that Steph is playing in. What do you make of that? Because there's certain numbers that back this up, and honestly, to me, it's just hilarious that Rudy Gobert would say something like that when that's not really something you're just gonna say to say unless you have seen
Right.
or truly wholeheartedly believe
Yeah, I mean,
this.
these guys around the league know each other, and the narrative is that Draymond doesn't like to play when Steph isn't playing. But uh, I think the truth to this one is more so Minnesota and Golden State have played in chippy games, and this season they played in a chippy game a couple days before this. That's how you end up. I mean, less than 2 minutes into the game,
0-0, bro.
like you're putting people in a chokehold. You came out here with no intention to play. Like so, there it's like, what do you say to that? You less than 2 minutes in the game. You know, I do believe there is some truth to that narrative where Draymond doesn't want to play when Steph doesn't play.
Why wouldn't you want to play with Clay? I mean, come on, man. It's half the Splash Bros. Y-
They're saying, I think it was Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith said that he's not really recognizing this version of Klay Thompson right now, and um, I wouldn't necessarily say shell of himself, but we have seen the regression since the 2019 finals where he got hurt, and he hasn't necessarily taken that splash bro get back because it was a point where Steph and Clay were enough, right? Steph, Clay, and then
Facts.
Draymond and doing what he does, that was enough to beat your favorite team. But nowadays, Clay Thompson isn't as dominant on the defensive end, and he isn't as uh, efficient on offense anymore.
There it is. There it is. The other night we saw a hell of a game in the State Farm Arena down here in Atlanta, Georgia. Knicks come out on victorious as they visit the State Farm Arena and the Atlanta Hawks, 116 to 114. Mitchell Robinson, 6 points, 15 rebounds. Julius Randle, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, was flirting with a double-double after, the beginning of the season started and certain fans and people were questioning his commitment and his desire to even play ball, which happens every year around certain times of the year,
Yeah.
as we all know. I know you were tapped in to the game. The entire group chat that we're in was tapped into the game. How much did you enjoy that game, man? Because it really kind of looked like playoff basketball to me, to be honest.
So I'll be honest, I was tapped in as far as keeping up because I'm, locksmiths, and then group chat I got with Sean and the Knicks fans. Shout out to More Bro Breeze, but and Jay Nicky. I'm not gonna sit there and watch no Knicks game if it's not on ESPN. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. So especially versus the Hawks. If it's like a Friday night and they got Knicks versus Celtics and it's on whatever Boston channel Nesson Sports, cool. I'll watch a good game, but I'm not gonna sit at my house on a Wednesday night watching Knicks Hawks. But obviously, I keep up with the updates and see what's going on. Jalen Brunson was able to close that one out, and you know, I feel like I've gotten back into my ways. Like back in the day, I used to fall asleep to Sports Center, so I started falling asleep to Sports Center a little bit now, and I get to catch the top 10 plays and catch some NBA highlights here and there. Um, but it's like it's more of a nostalgic thing more than anything, just to
I
kind
hear
of
you.
wake up to hearing, you know what I'm saying, the same highlights that you heard last night in the morning.
Them shits hit this different every time. It's like you just watched them
It's
for the first
different.
time over
It's
again. I
different. But
swear.
nah, Jalen Brunson was definitely able to outplay Trey Young in that one. 24, 8 assists, no rebounds, which is Emmanuel Quickly and Jalen Brunson, no rebounds. I'm not gonna lie, put a better effort out on rebounding because I know Mitchell Robinson got 15 of them, and a lot of them were offensive rebounds. They're giving them best offensive rebounder in the league, um, which is cool, but that doesn't mean you go out there and not get any rebounds. Yeah, I think if you're playing and you're a starter or a six man, as these two are, have some more pride. Quentin Grimes, 1 rebound, have some more pride.
1000%, 1000%. I love Trey Young with the 17 assists and the 15 points. Honestly, the 15 points don't look impressive,
Yeah,
but when you add 17 assists to that, you're responsible for what is that, like 49 points of the 114 that your team had. So he's definitely learning to be more of a facilitator, more of a leader. Certain Hawks fans that I've spoken to in the city, now that I'm in the city, are saying that he is kind of a
oh
shell of
yeah.
himself.
It still
Um,
doesn't click all the time that you're in Atlanta.
mhm. He, they're saying he's still kind of a shell of himself, and I think he only had like 5 points in the first half, and he turned it up in the second half a little bit. But he was definitely facilitating the ball. I also know that you mentioned Indiana earlier. Tyrese Halliburton, man, 33 points the other night, flirted with the triple double or a double double, if I'm not mistaken. Apologies. No turnovers was I think the highlight that everyone's been focused on. That he was so efficient, had no turnovers. And to answer the question that I asked you, I absolutely think that this NBA in-season tournament is great for the league,
Yeah,
great for the sport. You're looking and you're seeing players ball out because at the end of the day, that's an extra $500,000 in your bank account that's not there right now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I mean, Just ask Jimbo Fisher. He's at home right now for 76 or 96 million anyway. So
They say he's getting they say he's getting 26 bands a day for the next 8 years.
listen, man, I enjoy hard work and I have a work ethic, but if you're gonna give me 96 M's to chill out with the we're going to Italy, we're going to the Amalfi Coast, we're going, I don't even know, man. I'm booking a flight and we're all out. What is he talking about?
I'm gonna ask Drake. I'm gonna
um
ask Drake to use his shit. I'm not gonna lie. If I have that much money,
facts, facts, facts. Listen, the topic that we don't want to talk about, what we keep talking about, the LA Clippers, man. And this time, another loss, 0-6. James Harden comes out and says what any man that stands on business would say. When we figure this out, it's going to
just
get
give me some
scary.
time. Just give me some time. I swear,
Listen,
24. 21, 4-2 with Paul George's 35.7 rebound effort. Ray, before you sit, you mind cutting the fan off for me, please? I think that's really killing my sinus. um, it's sad to see that Paul George is going out there and putting up all these buckets, and it's just not enough. Uh,
mhm.
I still am gonna stand on what I was saying. What I was saying. Uh, Sorry, we just.
It's all
I
good.
was like, yo, it got mad pink just now. I still stand on what I was saying as far as the Clippers, though. And being able to figure it out. I feel like I feel James Harden, and I'll die on that hill. It's funny because Scott Van Pelt, he's basically on the hill of the Bills are good, and that the Bills are still going to make the playoffs, and they'll figure things out. And he's like,
We'll
I'm
talk
here.
about the Bills.
I'm gonna die on that hill, and Ryan Clark's like, "Well, you're dead." But I'm on. We're only 6 games into this, or yeah, 6 games into this
Yeah.
James Harden experience, and it was a good game versus the Denver Nuggets. If we put things into perspective, 111 to 108. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, Nikola Jokic going for 32, 16, and 9. What are you gonna do? You got a Zubac over there trying to guard him,
Come on,
but at
man.
the end of the day, they played good basketball, and it was promising to see. Did you have anything else on the Clippers?
Yeah. Do you think James Harden should accept and learn to come off the bench? Do you think that's what will make this work? Him
No.
being the leader of his own second team? Because I just don't see this starting lineup working, bro. I just don't see it.
You know what? I said no, but I feel like it could work. I don't know that he's going to be able to have that mentality to be able, to go back to that bench role where he came from to start his career. I think that he, he had the deal with Houston or whatever, and they're saying that he told Udoka that he wanted to be the scoring champ, and that kind of made them rescind their offer. If that's the case, then I don't see him mentally, strong enough to be able to come off the bench. Whether he's leading the second unit or not, it's just more of an off the bench thing that at this point in his career, it's not. I would say Russell Westbrook, if anything. Um, but maybe in 10 games, it shows that this might be what you have to do. It's still really early. And we're talking about basketball, and thankfully, we've gotten through 12 games for the most part. But 6 games with this experience for James Harden. This first 6 games of the season that he didn't play preseason, he wasn't at training camp. He wasn't with the team he's on now a month and a half ago. So I do think we should cut him some slack. And I do think we should understand that getting in basketball shape takes time. We'll start to see it. We'll start to see it soon enough. I mean, he's putting up air balls. That's clearly showing you his legs aren't under him 100%. So um, yeah, I did want to talk about the Heat though because seven straight, seven straight.
Talk
We
about
won
it.
tonight.
Hell yeah.
We won tonight versus Brooklyn at home.
And
Jimmy
covered
Butler
the
had
three and a
a
half point spread as well.
that's lit. Jimmy Butler had a 18-point third quarter, finished with 36. That's his season high. Bam Adebayo finished with 20 and 7. Uh, Duncan Robinson with a smooth 26, 6 from 10, 6 from 10 or 11 from 3. by the time I stopped watching. And Jaquez, another double figure game, 10, 5, and 4 in 33 minutes. I mean, I love to see Jaime Jaquez getting 33 minutes.
Bro,
Uh,
so explosive and just like he knows what to do. His court awareness, his
yeah,
vision,
yeah,
it's all there. And we saw it. We saw it when he was at UCLA. He was a leader on the floor at all times when he was at UCLA, and is transitioning quite fluidly into the
yep.
NBA at this point.
Yeah, you got to give credit to Coach Spo, just getting and keeping the right guys out there. We shot 51.9 from the field and 42.9 from three. 95, made 23 of 24 free throws tonight. That's huge. And because we got out rebounded 32 to 40 by 8, right? They had more assists than us. They had more points in the paint than us. But when you hit your free throws and they shoot 21 or 27, and that's not the sole reason they lost, but that's 6 points right there, and they lost by 7. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole nother ball game and situation that you put yourself in when you shoot efficiently from the free throw line. And uh, I know that that's something every year that the Miami Heat strive to, really, really excel at
Hmm.
is hitting free throws. We got solid Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo who are almost automatic at the line.
Come on, man. I've been with the All Things Sports podcast for the better half of about 2.5 years now. And what's the one
Uh,
thing I say every NBA season? You gotta hit your free throws. You
yep,
just have to because those will win or lose you the game. About 8 times out of 10, I will say, honestly. About 8 times out of 10. If you don't hit your free throws, you're
yep.
probably gonna lose the game. If you hit them, you're probably gonna win the game, right? We got a very interesting Thursday night matchup in this football world right now. I want to transition over to
Yep.
pigskin, as they say.
Hey, shout to Ray in the comments. You're
Always, always, always. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Ray. The Bengals, man, down 11. I'm gonna pull this up real quick, but yeah, down 11 to the Ravens in Baltimore. Joey Burrow is out with a wrist injury. Will not return tonight.
mm,
My original question was going to be, what do they need to do in the second half to end this 0-14 primetime on the road record in the last 10 seasons? But without Jerry Burrow, that question doesn't really hold weight. This division at this point, and we'll get to the Browns in a second, who are in a very similar position. At this point, it just looks like this is the Ravens for the taking. Like it's the Ravens for the taking. It's the Ravens to lose this division if they choose to lose this division. What are you seeing? What this because this is I don't even have a question anymore because of what just happened a couple of minutes ago in the game. Joey Burrow's out with the wrist injury, will not return. Jamar Chase, 5 targets, 1 catch, 10 yards. I have him for over 80 yards on a ticket. That's not going to happen at this point. This is kind of wild, man. What do you make of this matchup and what's currently going on in this AFC North right now?
well, I mean, the AFC North in general is tight, so I'm not going to put a stamp on what happens. We have a big weekend starting with this game tonight. It's still, like you said, an 11-point game. So you can't count out the Bengals, even though they don't have their starting quarterback. Uh, the thing is, the Ravens have struggled to finish games in which they're up, even in the fourth quarter. So
Yes, sir.
just with that little caveat, it makes me interested to see, like, all right, how because this Ravens team should win this game. This Ravens team should definitely win this game. There's no question that I shouldn't be talking in this way. I should say, yeah, Joe Burrow's out. Lamar Jackson's already got 200 yards, 32 rush yards, 2 touchdowns. They'll win this game. But the Ravens have brought to our attention that, hey, in years past and this year, we found ways to let games slip away. And so, um, what I'm interested to see is that, yeah, this Bengals team, I mean, this Ravens team looks like they're poised to win the division. They're up a game on the Steelers, at 7-3. Looks like they'll finish 8-3 tonight. And the Steelers got to go play the Browns, who the Browns now are playing back again with their backup quarterback. So we'll talk about that game in a second. But back to this
Facts.
Ravens game. I do think the Ravens are going to show tonight that we are a legit playoff team. We are a legit championship contender. And not only are we going to finish this game, I think they're going to put a little more on the Bengals tonight while we uh while we
Mm.
don't expect Joe Burrow to come back and be able to save the day. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the Ravens. There's a minute and a half left in the third quarter. It's 24-13, and I see Lamar Jackson scoring at least another touchdown. And this Ravens offense possibly getting another 2 to 3 scores, maybe, 2 touchdowns and a field goal or vice versa. So I
It is.
I like it.
Shout out to Cardi in the comments saying Lamar gets his ring this year. I'm
Yes,
aware of a young
sir.
man by the name of Patrick Mahomes that would have something else to say about that, but we don't really have to. What's understood doesn't have to be said, as they say. Let's move over to, as we were just talking about, the Browns that play the Steelers this week, and Deshaun Watson showed up to the post game of the Ravens game with a boot on his foot
Mm,
and ends up with a shoulder injury,
yeah,
a
yeah,
season-ending shoulder injury. Is the Brown season over, buddy? What do you think?
definitely.
Ugh.
With a defense like that, you can only do so much. The Jets have the best defense in the league, and their quarterback play is, and their offense. Honestly, I can't even keep just Zach Wilson is a big part of it, but that offense in general, we see it. It's bottom. It's definitely bottom five. So as I'm talking to you right now, Lamar Jackson is doing. That was almost listen. That was almost number one play on ESPN. Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson. It was just out of bounds, but he scrambled, and evaded a nice sack, got out the other way, threw a deep ball into the end zone, and just missed him by a second because he his foot was out of bounds. But if you could kind of help me get back on track here,
With the Brown
with the
season.
Browns, their offense is not going to be good enough without Deshaun Watson. We see them at their best when Deshaun Watson playing good. Last week, 14-14 in the second half, and they come back and beat this Ravens team that's putting it on the Bengals right now. So I do think, unfortunately, this ends their season. Pittsburgh should have beat them, or Pittsburgh beat them the first time, and we were talking about that last week where the Browns should have
Hmm.
won. But Pittsburgh looks like they're going to be able to sweep them because I don't see a backup quarterback beating that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. No, sir.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Were you surprised at the call that Cleveland made to start DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, over PJ Walker, a rookie over a 4-year veteran? Well, yeah, 4-year
Not,
veteran that doesn't
not
really get
necessarily.
PT, but
I mean, with PJ Walker, you know what you're going to get, and that's the good thing. You know that he's going to compete. He's going to go out there and he's not going to just like embarrass the team. But DTR has showed that he can go out there and put on for the city and do some things. So maybe it's a point of like, you know what? Let's ride with the young guy. We got him. He's new, and he has earned the right to be able to start in place of our starting quarterback. So let's try to see what we can get, out of him. We know what PJ Walker is, as I said, and his like ceiling. DTR might
mhm.
have a higher ceiling. What's odd about this whole situation is that to start the 2023-2024 season this year, the backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns was Josh Dobbs. And now Josh Dobbs is on a 5-0 in the last 5 weeks Minnesota Vikings team after being emergency traded for because Kirk Cousins went out. The Jets didn't trade for Josh Dobbs. I don't know, bro.
I want to rewind the clock a little bit because we spoke about this game while it was going on. And by this game, I mean Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills that happened on Monday night. And you said the Bills would win. I'm still a hater, and I said that Denver would win. I kind of said it between my teeth because I wasn't exactly too confident with Mr. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and what they're doing over there in the Mile High City. But we saw it. We literally saw one of the wildest endings to a game where you leave 12 men on the field, and when I say you, I mean the Bills, and literally just blow the game. Now, aftermath of the game, the Bills fire the offensive coordinator.
Hmm.
Does this scream panic to you, June?
Um, Not necessarily because I mean the Bills are at a point of the season where it's put up or shut up, right? And they've gotten themselves here. So just because they turned the ball over 4 times, which I don't think this loss is on Ken Dorsey per se, but that's not to say that the last few weeks, offensive mishaps uh, can't be on Ken Dorsey. And there's also the chain. Like if it's the quarterback or the coach, it's going to be the coach. You have a franchise quarterback. You're not going to just release Josh Allen. Josh Allen has the most turnovers since he's come in the league as a quarterback. Um, he's showing that every single year he's been in the league, he has a high interception rate. These are things that come back to haunt this Bills team and don't let them get to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. That gap in that window of time has closed. This is like one of their last years, if not their last year with this team, to be able to figure things out. And so somebody's got to go. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's got to take the hit. And we talked about
A
Sean
couple
McDermott.
people gotta go.
We talked about Sean McDermott, you know, possibly being on the hot seat with a loss here. And Sean McDermott's like, yo, look, we're not gonna light no fire under my ass. I'm about to let somebody go right now. Pressure's on. What's up? I'm the boss. And that's probably how he felt after the game, like a little inclined to make some sort of change because Buffalo's what are they, 5-5 now?
Yes, sir.
If they lose this week, who does Buffalo get next week?
I can tell you right now because I have it pulled up. But oh, they play the Jets. How? Come on, man. They play the Jets. Who beat them
We
in the
saw we
season
saw the
opener?
first game of the season this year and how they lost. They didn't. They Josh Allen had three interceptions or so and a fumble, and that's the best defense in the league. So if they get swept by the Jets,
Oh, Sean
now we
McDermott's out of here.
yeah now we start looking at what I don't know that they do it so fast, especially with Leslie
Sean
Frazier going
McDermott's
down
out of here.
and not them not having a who's going to be the interim head coach. Like they might just finish off the season unless it gets really, really ugly. But I think they'll probably let them rock.
Yeah, I don't think that you can put Ken Dorsey or put the blame on Ken Dorsey for these losses. Definitely, he's culpable and he has to be held accountable. I don't think that firing him solves your issue at all. Personally, I hope he does land as the offensive coordinator for the Hurricanes, but that's neither here nor there. Alma mater type shit. You feel me? Um, yeah, I don't see this fixing their problem. I was a little interested in Josh Allen's reaction, and he kind of didn't really seem surprised. He didn't seem like bothered. It was just like, yeah, I mean, so I want to know who. Obviously, we know who made the call. Head office made the call, but like behind the scenes, who really made that call, right?
To me,
Um,
that's McDermott. To me, it's McDermott.
I do think that if the Jets pull this sweep off, which again, I'm gonna put my Bills hater and Josh Allen hater hat on right now. Boop. I do think it'll happen. I do think that if this happens, or when this happens for that matter, just put a stamp on it, McDermott's out. And I got a hot take for you. McDermott and Stephon Diggs will not be a part of the Buffalo Bills organization next season. I will and this is the 11/16/2023 ATS episode. McDermott and Stephon Diggs will not be Buffalo Bills next year. Shout out to Kev in the comments saying McDermott needs to try to save his job in any way possible. I think you guys are poised for a win this weekend, Kev, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a sweet one, all right?
Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. I don't see that Jets offense doing nothing.
Oh my god. Hey, listen, we can head over to the MLB real quick because obviously we got some Cy Youngs, some MVP awards. And really, June, I'm gonna let you talk your shit because you had a take at the beginning of the season, and everything kind of came to fruition. Man, talk to me. Ronald
So
Acuna,
yeah,
AL MVP.
yeah, man. This is a guy who got hurt last year, and it's not just how he approaches the game. It's about how he does things. Like, first of all, 73 stolen bases and 40 home runs. 70 stolen bases and 40 home runs. We got to let that sink in. Because when I came into the season, I didn't necessarily think that he was going to come in and bat 337, get 100 RBIs, steal 70
Talk
bases,
about it.
150 runs, 49, and 40 home runs. This is Hall of Fame. Like, this is a Hall of Fame season stat line right here. This is like one of the best seasons you can have as a hitter and as an individual player. Um, so for him to have responded from the injury this way and put the Braves back into contention the way they were, uh, sad that they were disappointments in that first round of the playoffs. So we don't
Ugh.
we don't want to necessarily blame them for that, but not blame, but we don't want to kind of let them get away with it. However, this is an MVP moment, right? We're talking about what he did all season for 100. How many games did he play? Let me see. 2023, 159 games. Look at that.
Come on, man.
So give him
Missed three
credit. And
games.
then on that, we knew that AL MVP. We knew, and we know who's going to win it next year. It's going to be a back to back. Shohei Ohtani.
Ooh,
It's going to be a
there it
back to
is.
back. This is a 3-time All Star Rookie of the Year MVP. He had 150 hits, 44 home runs, bat 304, 20 stolen bases, and 95 RBIs, 100 runs scored, 102. And let's not forget, he's a pitcher. So,
I don't see him in an Angels uniform next year, personally, but
oh
definitely
no,
shout
he's
out to
gone.
Shohei Ohtani.
He's a free agent. He's gone. I hope they're saying the Mets, are interested, and I really hope Shohei, make a great decision and don't go to the Mets. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh man, I want to walk back some comments that I said privately to you here publicly on the podcast. Blake Snell, NL Cy Young. I looked at the numbers. I looked at the stat sheet and the game log, as is what they call it in baseball. And he started the season rocky. He straightened it up. Pause. And he kind of he kept the train moving essentially. The thing with me and why I said that I didn't understand why he won the NL Cy Young was I feel like he's a very polar pitcher, but I think that also has to do with the curse of being a left-handed pitcher. There's not many left-handed pitchers, not many left-handed people in the world for that matter, but
Yeah. Right.
left-handed pitchers tend to have it a little rougher than these right-handed pitchers. And I mean, with a 3.25 season ERA, definitely, man. Shout out to Blake Snell of the San Diego Padres winning that NL Cy Young. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, he deserved it. He's one of the best pitchers in the league. 14-9 in 32 starts. You know, he's a career 3.20 ERA, and he had a 2.25 ERA. I mean, that 2.25 ERA alone, puts you in that
Yeah,
Cy Young
2.25. Thank you.
discussion. Is discussing. Nobody's hitting that. And that's really, you look at the wins and losses, of course, which 14-9, that's where maybe you could see and be like, I don't know but when you really look into what he's doing and the pitches he's making and the guys he's getting to miss, that all accumulates to why.
234 strikeouts.
Yeah, yeah,
234 strikeouts and 180 innings pitched is
yeah.
crazy.
That's
45
crazy.
earned runs all season, 15 home runs, limited hard contact while he was on the mound.
Crazy.
Again, we're talking about the San Diego Padres, obviously. So, it is what it is, as they say.
Juan
But
Soto is also
definitely,
probably not going to be a San Diego Padre next year. I heard it from Buster Olney.
and not that you like to talk about them, but come on, man. That boy Garrett Cole,
Yeah,
AL Cy Young.
yeah,
And again, he never ceases to disappoint. I actually think he had a much better season than I expected him to have because as a Yankee fan, as the ATS Yankee fan, am very critical of Garrett Cole because I feel like he's another pitcher that is very polar. While he can come out and give you 11 Ks through 7 innings and no earned runs, he's known to have at least one game a month where it's 7 earned runs, 6 hits, 4.2 innings
yeah,
pitched,
yeah.
and
Getting
he gets
popped.
up out of there. And this season, I said it him a lot, and it's didn't really have any bad games. I mean, the worst game that I can see here, unfortunately, against your Boston Red Sox,
Didn't
he let
have
up
any
six.
bad games. I don't know if I'll let you live. I'll let you live. I'm sure there's an argument to that,
I
but
mean,
I'll let.
6 earned runs, but again, season 2.63
No, yeah,
ERA.
you look at that 15-4, 2.6, because what Blake Snell is doing is nasty, and he's actually doing it and similar to the same, and also getting the wins and limiting the losses. So
15-4 record. Like we just said, 2.63 ERA, 222 strikeouts, and a .98 whip with, runners in hitting position, which
yeah,
means not only is he limiting contact, but if you do get on base, you're probably not going to make it home if I'm on the mound. Shout out to that man, Garrett Cole.
yeah,
I want to keep it in New York because there is a bit of a feud going on right now with Brian Cashman and Giancarlo Stanton. And very interesting to me, Cashman's choice of words here. And I'm going to read this quote verbatim, so bear with me here. Cashman in a press conference said, "We can talk about it and it being limiting the time Giancarlo isn't playing, but I'm not going to tell you he's going to play every game next year because he's not. He's going to wind up getting hurt again, more likely than not, because it seems to be a part of his game. But I know that when he's right and healthy, other than this past year, he's a great hitter and has been for a long time." This is a man
other than this
that
past
was
year is crazy.
this is a man that and this being Giancarlo Stanton, that prior to coming to the Yankees, he was the NL MVP in Miami. Like he's shown and
Yeah,
he's proven. Yeah, I mean, players get banged up. No one wants to get injured. No one wants to see anybody get injured. It's not
yeah,
not fun. It doesn't make for good sports. It doesn't make for that poetry in motion that baseball truly is. Now, Giancarlo Stanton's agent, Joel Wolf, in an interview with The Athletic. So Giancarlo didn't reply or say anything. But Giancarlo's agent in an interview with The Athletic said, I'm going to read this verbatim as well. "I think it's a good reminder for all free agents considering signing in New York, both foreign and domestic, that to play for that team, which is interesting to me, but to play for that team, you got to be made of Teflon, both mentally and physically, because you can never let your guard down, even in the offseason." Now, for Giancarlo Stanton's agent to say this, it had to be approved
yeah.
by Giancarlo Stanton. How nasty are these comments coming from Brian Cashman, Jim?
Um,
And please leave your
man,
Red
listen,
Sox bias aside.
no bias
Can
here.
we?
I
I,
think
I need you to answer without saying "fuck the Yankees" at the end, please.
got you. Nah, I think it's fair because when you look at Giancarlo Stanton, you just mentioned he was an MVP in Miami. Then they paid him X amount of dollars. I don't know the dollar amount, but I feel like they're paying him enough to talk to him the way they want to talk to him, low key. Like, no, not
Mm.
literally, but like if the GM is giving the honest truth about you in a non-slick way, in a what did he say that was false? Is my point. You know what I'm saying? He didn't lie on him and just air his player out. This is a guy who's been on the Yankees for the last 5-6 years, and this has been who he is. He doesn't play all season. He will get hurt during the season for an extended period of time. When he does play, though, we see he can smack some shit. That's who Giancarlo Stanton is, and that's the reality that Brian Cashman has just. I mean, he's saying what we all see. So if he was to come out and say something left or like super disrespectful or like really something that ain't true, I could understand why the agents got to go and attack and say something slick and this, that, and the third. Yeah, Giancarlo Stanton and his agent could be uptight, bro, and they could be butthurt about it. But guess what, bro? That's what you are. That's what you are.
It's obviously, again, I asked you to leave your bias out of it. I'm not going to leave my bias out of it. I, it just it I said how nasty are his comments, and I just feel like it's the other than this past year for me is just nasty work. And it's to me, and I told you this in private. Brian Cashman has been a part of the Yankee organization for probably longer than most Yankee fans would
Right.
like. That's one. But if there's one thing about Cash, as they say, as they call him, is that he is very methodical with everything that he does. He's very thought out. And to me, maybe, I don't know if anyone else feels the sentiment, it seems like he's trying to get him up out of here. Because I don't think like again, I said that there's players that get injured in all around sports. This isn't something that's even been said about someone like Ben Simmons. I know this is a different sport, but
Right.
I want to kind of use that analogy because, and again, he's hurt right now as well. Um,
It's
this
gonna
thing,
happen.
I don't think that's something that you say, as a GM about your players like that. And I do like the chess move that Joel Wolf played as far as like, yo, heads up, y'all boys, if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, but
For
he's sick of it, bro. Like, think about it. He's got to feel. He's really got to feel some type of way for him to have come out and said that. Like, you really got us tight. Like now you playing with us, and I just feel like he could have been way more of a dick about it. And he what like that is some asshole shit. I'm not gonna say like it's like he had to say it. No, he didn't have to say that. Of course he didn't. But he ain't lying neither. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like maybe fucking this will wake you up and next year you play 120 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's it gonna take, bro? Because you just lollygagging this shit and we're paying you all this money and we're not winning. Yankees ain't winning shit. They're just good.
That's true. That's
They're
true.
just good. So and this year they weren't good. So yeah, especially this year. And I get it.
Shout
I
out.
do get it. You know, you never want to hear as a fan your GM come out and talk about a player. Like when GM and player have a friction, now it's like, oh shit, locker room, what's going on? I get it. From another perspective, like, that's not my team or whatever the case. I mean, the truth, it's the truth. So I see both sides though.
Definitely not as bad as when Derek Jeter asked him to not air out his contract stuff and he aired that shit out in public. But shout out to Kevin in the comments, Big Kev. Joe Wolf, and he reminded me to mention this. Joe Wolf represents Yamamoto too, and Yamamoto's a very star prospect right now. So
He's coming to Boston.
you know what I mean? I while again I have a certain bias because I am a Yankee fan, I do think that this affects a lot more than just Giancarlo Stanton getting out of New York and the Yankees starting
Yeah.
to get on this winning run again. Like it's as they say, it's bad for business, and it's just bad for business at the end of the day. And that's and I'm gonna leave it at that right there. I want to give a huge shout out to Coach John Shire. I keep forgetting to wear my "Thank You, Coach K" hoodie on this show when we talk about Duke. Man, I really because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Coach K, there
If it
probably would
wasn't
be
for
no John.
Coach K, man, none of this shit would have been real.
You know what I mean? Tough game against Michigan State. At moments,
Yeah.
we looked a little lost, a little out of tune, a little. Like we didn't know our vision on the court wasn't where it needed to be. But
Right.
in typical Duke fashion, we like to play with our food and then, you know, finish the plate at the end of it.
Mm-mm-mm.
So shout out to Coach
Hey,
John
yo.
Shire bouncing back, yeah, bouncing back from that Arizona loss and in his hometown of Chicago, which I'm sure was very special to him, against a legendary coach by the name of Tom Izzo. Top five for sure. A lot of respect for what he does with that Michigan State program.
Yeah.
But it has to get frustrating losing to Duke almost every year and doing all this recruiting of these top prospects. I don't want
Hey,
to bring
man.
race into it. I don't want to bring race into it, but I am. Yo, shout out to Filipkowski too, man. He had a hell of a
Yeah.
game. Leader on the court.
Yeah. Him and Caleb
I just
Foster balled out.
mhm.
Not to cut you off, I'm excited with this 3-1 start. You know, it doesn't feel like we're not hungry. It doesn't feel like, teams are just getting after us. Uh, no, it feels like, we're going after it this year. And John Shire, I think he just has a certain energy and vibe about him that his players want to play hard for him. And obviously, Coach K had a vibe where his players would play hard for him. But, things definitely got to certain points of, his career or you know, I feel like now there's a new energy and people aren't as comfortable as they once were, right? So coming into the season 3-1, ranked 9, I'm excited for what comes.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. June, Kevin says we gotta throw a flag on the play for your Ohio State jacket. He says it's blasphemous. Shout out to Big
Blast.
Kev in the
Oh,
comments.
shout out to Big Kev. Shout out to Starter. This is a fire Ohio State jacket. I am not one of those Hurricanes fans who hates on Ohio State. I don't because I feel like the referees made the mistake in that game. Ohio State was the team that beat us, unfortunately. Uh, but that like, Odell Beckham just got a nice pass to the 20. Oh, he might score. No, he got to the 15. That was nice. You know, what am I gonna blame? What am I gonna blame the school for? I mean, the ref made the horrible fucking call. 20 minutes after the game finished, they threw the flag. Um, but I mean, if Kev feels any better, listen, bro, they got pushed off. They're number 2 now. They're not number 1. Georgia is back in number 1. They're number 2. Michigan State's at 3.
Facts.
Michigan's at 3. Florida State's at 4. And then you got Washington, Oregon, Texas at 5, 6, 7, with Alabama right there at that 8 spot. So it's getting there as far as college football goes. It's just, it's just a jacket, my boy. We still yo, where that Hurricanes jacket at? I ain't gonna lie. We had a Hurricanes jacket, don't trip. But Georgia had to, jump Ohio State. It was about time because the way they're able to dominate their games and Ohio State, you see them week in and week out, not necessarily struggling, but it just doesn't look the same, right? It's not the same as years past, and I think it all comes down to quarterback play. But nonetheless, they're still ranked, they're still undefeated, and we got 5 undefeated teams. And Washington at this point is going to be the oddball out, which it sucks because they got a good win against Oregon. Um, but at the end of the day, man, Florida State is doing their thing. Michigan's doing their thing amidst all the, you know, cheating or sign stealing and coach suspension stuff they're dealing with. Um, I really thought Miami was going to beat Florida State at one point last week, and it didn't happen. So Washington's going to need, some sort of movement there in the top 4 for them to get that playoff berth. But nonetheless, I'm glad Georgia jumped Ohio State because I feel like they're the best team in the country when it's all said and done.
Yeah, we didn't talk too much about it, but I will say I do think that Michigan should have been ranked a little higher just based on how much of a statement that win against Penn State was without
Mm.
Harbaugh on the sideline. I do think that, like I said, they made a statement in my head, and they should have been ranked a little higher this week. But again, in the words of some two wise
Hey,
men that a lot of us watch, it is what it is.
it is what it is. Facts. I just don't think, they beat Ohio State. It's not to say they haven't beat Ohio State, but this year they haven't. So that game is coming. That game is coming, and we'll see when we get there.
Listen, that was the All Things Sports podcast on this Monday night. Ooh, on this Thursday night. I'm tripping. Thursday night football. 11/16/2023. We will see you this Sunday. We will recap the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. games, as well as preview and maybe have a live looking at the 8 p.m. game this Sunday evening. Catch us here 3 times a week. If you tuned in live, we appreciate you for showing love. If you're listening on your streaming platforms, as always, we appreciate you showing love. My name is Small Town EP. I am your co-host, joined by your host, Mr. Heat in 5 himself. See you soon, June. Wade Julian. We'll see you guys.